Hello everyone, it's Friday night and it is time for your weekender once more. And this week we have the usual reprobates talking to you about all the hobby stuff that's caught our eye over the last 7 days across the industry. On top of that, we are also going to be announcing our winners for the Spring Clean Challenge 2024. Now, to keep you enticed and excited and watching for more, we have a prize from store.ontabletop.com. The Age of Sigmar Skaventide box set. If you want to win this honking hunk of plastic, pop a comment below the video on YouTube and be a subscriber to the channel. Now sit back and relax, because your weekend starts here. Hello everyone and welcome to the Weekender once again. I'm joined this week by John and Ben to talk hobby. Both stuff that the industry's up to and stuff that our community have been up to, because we're going to be announcing our Spring Clean Challenge winners later on in the show. Ooh, it's been fun. And difficult and fun, but fun.
It was. Me and Jerry sat there for an entire afternoon going back and forth. And then me just saying, what do you think? And then Jerry going this, and then going like, cool, yep, sure, yep.
I want this day to end, Jerry. I will accede to your wishes. They are now the winner. I was very good.
You were?
I was fair and balanced. I was the Fox News of judges.
So.
Which is what you want in life, isn't it? It's also been a busy week.
It really is.
On the site. Apart from
it has been, yeah,
in our little chit chat, because we've been going all Warcrowy with, which is how it's pronounced. The shoulders, it's necessary. It's like so we've been getting into the weeds with Corvus Belli's new fantasy warband skirmish game. That's what it is. All of these things together, and seems to be attracting a lot of attention. Ooh.
It does.
Yep. Yes. So if people are unaware, how very dare you? Why are you not watching me? There is a host of videos coming. There'll be a few more by the time you see this, and a few more over the weekend as well. And Killian and myself sat down, had some chit chats about the game, how it's played, the sort of the units and stats. And also we played a couple of games as well. An introductory game where had to deal with myself and Killian feeling our way through a system. And then later on we broke out the magic and threw everything from the box set onto the table for a larger game. I've seen people asking things like, oh, this is interesting. I'd love to see the stats for dwarves. And they're like, well, don't worry, you will, because after the standard box unit profiles, there will be the upcoming Beyond box as well, where we take a look at what's in there. And there are dwarves. Ben, dwarves.
Barukaza!
Yeah. Or are they dwarves? Because they left the dwarf community, joined the hegemony of Embersig, and shaved their beards off. Or at least trimmed back.
How
they don't want to be connected with whatever that dwarf realm is. Sorry, mate.
What is it with companies making dwarves that aren't actually real dwarves?
Don't worry,
Parabellum.
The real dwarves will be coming. These are breakaways. These are splitters.
Right. Yeah.
This is the
shaders.
The dwarven people's front of Embersig. So you can come over to the website. We have a big banner on the front page, which will have all the videos, or there's the Warcrow hub, which will put everything in if you want to find it that way. And if you are interested, the pre-orders are live right now, so you can you can order the Winds from the North box, which is what we played with. There's also the big, massive, chunky lore book, which is absolutely spanking gorgeous. about 300 pages of backstory, lore, and world building, and then like 30 pages of rules slapped at the end. Bosh. Get home with yourself. It's a mighty tome. And I've already opened the picture of Alward because I know people will want to see him. Because I'm thinking about that. He is the pre-order exclusive. So if you want a shape-shifting northern bear man from the tribes who work with the filthy orcs, then you too can have him. He may appear in the future in some other form. We don't know yet, but if you fancy a massive shape-shifting punchy bear, then get in, fill your boots, or well, you can grab him individually if you're not after any of the bundles. But look at that. Look at His Majesty.
He's come a long way from modelling glacier mints, hasn't he?
Oh, yes, very much so.
Yeah.
Well, he had to do something once all the mints started to melt. There was nowhere else for him to go.
Did mints, had a go with cola, now off into the fantasy world of Lindworm. So
gone home.
He's gone
to spiritual home.
Very much so. Very much so. Yeah. He's an absolutely spanking model. Absolutely gorgeous. We had the studio painted one in with us, which was nice.
Oh,
I stared at it from the distance on the table. I took some pictures as well because my photography knows no bounds. But I let other people pick it up because if they were going to drop it and break it, it wasn't going to be on me. That's how I deal with precious things. I thought so. Yeah. So, interesting stuff. Some interesting concepts in the game. Dive into the videos, find out all about it if you want to know more. I have seen some people asking about model counts for units. Going, does it say what model count is on the cards? No, it doesn't, because your unit is whatever's in a box. So buy a box. If you buy 2 boxes, then half the number of models is a unit. You're just going to have to start doing maths at that point, I'm afraid, folks. But really, there's no need to label how many models are in a unit unless you plan on leaving on a shelf long enough to forget how many were in the box. Don't do that.
there is that possibility. Yep.
Well, there is with me, certainly, but I try and be good. And when I can't be good, at least I'm tolerable, which is more often than not. Right. So, that's the Warcrow out the way. We shall move on with the show proper. And because we've got so much hobby coming this week, courtesy of the Sprinkling Challenge, we're going to skip our indie. I know. Gasp, shock, horror. I fought for it. Lord, I fought for it.
Cancelled on YouTube.
Repeatedly beaten by the boss. He screamed things like, "I'll have you, McCabe. I'll have you." And then he started swinging a sock full of pennies. At which point I went, fair enough, no indie this week, man. Grand. So we're going to get stuck into the news.
Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe. Covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
Okay, so the first big bit of news we have coming straight out of the box from War Cradle Studios. Armoured Clash.
So, Armoured Clash, their big land-based epic scale game, 10 mil, is going to be coming later this year. Pre-orders will be fairly soon for this one. They have teased and nudged and hinted about this, but it will be in the very, very near future. So if you've been waiting for this one, keep your pennies ready and not in a sock. We have a couple of box sets that they previewed, just so you've got an idea of the kind of stuff that's going to be coming out as part of the launch range for Armoured Clash. So the first one of these is the Battle for Singapore, which will contain forces for both the Empire and the Crown. And it's effectively a kind of 2-player introductory set, sort of starter set, effectively for you to dive into. And
it even says so at the bottom of the box.
Indeed, yes. This has been designed almost kind of like as I say, as a 2-player introduction. So if you're looking to dive in and you're not entirely sure which faction to choose, or you've got a friend who wants to start playing Armoured Clash with you, maybe use this as your entry point, buy this one, dive in and have some fun. It'll contain all the bits and pieces you need to actually start playing the game, and you'll have a sort of booklet in there as well to follow along with, almost like a scenario guide, a little bit like what they've done for things in the past for Hunt for the Prometheus and stuff like that. which will sort of guide you through playing the game and sort of teach you the mechanics and all that kind of good stuff. We will get into the contents of all of these in due course, so do not worry. There will be more on Armoured Clash in the future, but for now, just these little previews. We've also got these 2 starter sets, which are of big faction battle groups. You have one for the Crown and one for the Empire. These are like your big entry point if you are like very sure of which force you want to go with. You go and pick up the Crown one or the Empire one, and you will be absolutely covered when it comes to getting in and start playing the game. Again, you'll have all the bits and pieces to start playing and having some fun. You'll have all your troops or your smaller vehicles and then some big ones as well. And
of course,
that is the way.
If you're already a Dystopian War player and you're looking to add land battles to your existing force, then you know what one you're going for.
Exactly. Yes.
So, it makes life much easier.
Again, these will come with a good mix of their new plastic kits as well as their resin stuff as well. And then on a slightly smaller scale, for those who want to have an amuse-bouche, a taster, a wee snifter, you have these introductory sets which come with a smaller selection of troops and vehicles for each side, alongside guides for how to play and sort of playing out small scenarios so you can get your head around the game mechanics and stuff. But again, are focused on one particular faction rather than including both of them. Obviously, you can mix and match a lot of these however you like. So if you're somebody who maybe picks up the Battle for Singapore set, and then you want to add in a few more extra bits and pieces, Warcradle have always been like, well, why don't you get some of the introductory sets to kind of bolt on some additional things? Or if you get one of the faction battle groups and you want to go a different way, or if you start with an introductory set and then you and a friend realize you want to dive even further, pick up the battle groups or the 2-player set, whichever way you want to approach the game, really. All of them will come in different ways for you to get your hands on all the bits and bobs. They are going to offer the rulebook and the associated accessories separately as well. So if you're somebody who maybe picks up one of the introductory sets and just then wants to read the rulebook or something, you can pick that up separately. The Command and Conquest deck, which I have to always be careful whenever I talk about it, because every time I want to say Command and Conquer.
Yes.
But the Command and Conquest deck, similar to what you've seen in other games from Warcraft, will be there to kind of help build up build scenarios and things like that, and give you additional rules and stuff. And then there's obviously the dice set as well, which comes separately there too. So if you're looking to just start off one of the smaller sets and then just bolt on a few extra bits and pieces, there are going to be options for you on that front. All of this stuff coming very, very soon, so keep an eye out for that. We will be delving into it in more depth, but rest assured. Oh, sorry.
No,
yes.
I was going to say, because I was for Dystopian Wars, I have a significant Imperium fleet, and I wonder what they're going to look like.
Yeah,
on this.
Well, they did drop a little bit of a hint, as you can see here. So we got to look at the Lucifer and the Sturmpanzer for the Imperium, which are going to be coming in early 2025. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. There'll be more stuff in between now and then as well. So keep an eye out for it.
Look, John,
it's all good.
It's a Victoriana steampunk A7V.
Yeah, it is. I will say two things then. So to the Warcradle design department, thank you for giving mechs to the Imperium, and also to the design team, stop with the A7Vs. They were junk in reality. You don't need to tell us that they can be good on a tabletop.
Don't worry, these aren't them. These are something different. I'm trying to think when Dystopian Wars is set. I know it is dated for somewhere, but because obviously the dystopian age is a thing where it's all pulled together, then it means that you have Abraham Lincoln and Tesla and stuff are there. So it's like late 1800s. I don't think it's into the 1900s. So obviously this isn't one of those.
So you're saying they perfected tanks before tanks?
A3,
A1,
A3D.
VHS?
I mean, there are tanks that are basically big wheels. So, I mean, they've definitely...
Oh, the big ball tanks, the big hamster balls.
Yeah.
Which are the... they look fun. I like those. Because you can just go do nothing around people's heads and enjoy yourself in that regard. Fascinated to see how this pans out and what the rules are like. Because I was very interested when I had a chat with the designers at UKGE. And there were some interesting little concepts, including the sort of command and control aspects of it as well. So, I want to see the fully fleshed out rules and see how it pans out on the tabletop. I also want to see a campaign system for it. I keep asking.
Yeah.
Nobody said anything yet. How can you not have a campaign system?
We need dystopian wars to have.
Yeah.
When we need. Yeah, but we also need dystopian wars to have amphibious landing craft and stuff like that as well to bridge the
I
campaigns.
think some of them
probably
might
do
be
don't
already,
they?
or they just have to go ahead and go, right, here's your campaign system separately. Here's a download /flyer /whatever of a campaign system with some scenarios for things like beach landings, and then include X generic landing craft. It will take X number of troops or cavalry or vehicles, and then you attempt to shield them, get them to the beach, and not have them absolutely pounded into the dirt by your opposing force, and then just go from there. The map, just do a big map as well. Hope somebody's taking notes here.
I can.
This is what I want for my campaign.
I can put the Olympic that I painted in as the troop carrier.
Yes,
of course they do generic civilian ships already.
Yeah.
Yes. So they've already got them. Include them. Have some of those. You've got the oil rig defense platforms and stuff, which could be bought then for your defenders, along with mines and things to put up your. It all comes together.
Yep.
Be good business.
It's as if there's a plan.
There probably isn't. I'm just calling all this together from randomness in my head, but it is what it is. Yeah, anyway. So they're available for pre-order already, the boxes?
They will be
coming up soon.
Okay. They'll be soon. This was just a little teaser so people knew it was on the way. So.
Keep your eyes out for the Armoured Clash. Who knows where it will go? We do. Right. Moving on then for another bit of pre-ordering news. And this time round, this is not a test. And this is absolutely fascinating. So this is not a test. Previously existed via World's End Publishing, he said.
Yep.
Thinking back through the mist of time.
Quite a while ago, yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Now being published via Blacksite. This is, while it is a second edition, it's not a new edition / new game. This is essentially Blacksite going, right, we're going to reprint it, pull all the rules in, because at one stage there were separate print runs with different books and different scenarios, and maybe pick up the core set, then pick up some additional sort of scenario sets and the like, put it all together. And that way you'll be able to get your hands on the complete rules for the post-apocalyptic world. So inside it, it will have all of the explanation of how you play the game, sort of a D10-based gang fighting style game with a small miniature count. There are 5 factions. There's the Raiders, the Mutants, Caravanners, Preservers, Tribal. Oh, and Peacekeepers.
Tribal Warriors and Peacekeepers.
Yeah, okay. There we are. That wasn't bad. I mean, I was doing quite well there, to be brutally honest.
You did. You were doing very, very well.
Yep. So the way this is working via Blacksite, it's one of their pre-order campaigns. So essentially, Blacksite do essentially their own hosted pre-orders like Kickstarter. So what Kickstarter has become, where people just go there to pre-order stuff, Blacksite just do it themselves. So you know it's a pre-order. There are stretch goals available, but what they don't do is delay everything as you wait for stuff to come through to you. So they have what they want to release, or what they're going to release rather, which is both digital and physical product, actually. So you'll be able to pick up either physical models, STLs, the PDF, and the actual physical hardback from them. There's even pre-painted terrain because it is Blacksite and it's kind of gorgeous. But the way they work it with these sort of backstage pre-orders is they have unlocks based on the amount of pre-orders that they receive for, I think, the books. So people buying the books, every so many will unlock something, whether it's a new character or a bit of art, like a map of the world that you're playing in, or a new faction. set. And as they plow through those, they've been unlocking them. But it is a hosted pre-order, which means when you come to look at it, unlike a Kickstarter, which runs for X number of days, if you've not been on the black site one before, this will run for about 30 days. Only started recently, so there's about 4 weeks left on it. But once you put your order in, they take your money immediately, unlike Kickstarter or GameFound, where they take it at the end if funding is successful, because these are pre-orders. They will take it, they will charge you your postage and everything else. They ship exclusively from the US currently. So your shipping will be based on whatever you order at the time, which means if you want to hang on until the end, there's no limited edition pre-order only pieces in here. It will all be available after the fact. You can wait till the end of the campaign and go, right, this is what's available. I want to order this, this, and this. And then when you put your order in, it will tell you what the price of shipping and everything else is then and there. And you can pay your taxes if you're outside the US, which is a really nice way of doing it. And also it means there's no mad panic on it.
Mm-hmm.
You can just jump in at the end when you see that everything is there and you want to give it a go, which I think is a terrific way of doing it, because I'm fascinated by the game. There's some really interesting mechanics in it. Obviously, the world has gone horribly wrong, and you've got a whole host of weirdness, whether it's the mutos or the preservers running around the place with their desperate attempt to preserve whatever lost technology humanity had. So you've got this really nice background, but it's all campaign driven. So when you play your scenarios, they can have hazards in them, whether they are mutant cockroaches pouring out of the sewers to bite your bum, or whether it's a radioactive dust cloud coming your way that obscures your vision and causes you issues. You're playing in the world like that. Or the scenario might run exactly as intended in the book. You check at the start. So you may have these extra things to contend with. And then there's also the way that the sort of the generation of activations work. So if you're lucky with your activations, you can activate a model and then activate another model. And if you fluff your activation roll, you get less actions for your first model, and then it immediately passes to your opponent. Right. So lucky warbands can get a chance to maybe activate several times, and all of a sudden it's just they're taking the advantage, they're pushing forward, they're pushing on the objective and their goal, and then my warbands they get one action each. And then get shot off the board.
That will be the way
punched to death by a walking vending machine. Either or. These are all very doable. But yeah, if you are interested, it's well worth checking out, because it's one that's interested me for a while. And now that Black Site are doing it and publishing it, hopefully it means that people will be able to get their hands on the actual printed version with a more consistent regularity, whereas before they were having to wait for print runs to be redone, and then they were having to collect bits and pieces from various scenarios and like. So everything sort of gets a nice polish, spit polish and released into the world.
I think the other thing that was Maguire was talking about, who's the original author and designer of it, was saying is that the Black Site have come in and really helped with the layout and the design as well of the book. So everything reads better, it's clearer. There's got lots of obviously lovely art in there as well and everything. So it really helps set the scene. I mean, obviously the game already was like a big hit for a lot of people, but now it's nice to see it come back and sort of take to the tabletop once more. And it looks really nice. I like that they're doing the miniatures for it as well. It's really nice. Yeah,
and I mean
stuff, and hopefully we see some more coming up later as well. But obviously you can use whatever you want. So
yeah. And for those people who do the ones and zeros things, there are completely digital pledges. So you can get the PDF of the book, you can get the STLs of the gangs, and for people like me who want real games, they will provide it all in physical product. So, it's all your bases are covered, or you can mix and match between them, to be brutally honest. If you want to get either or both, you can do that. So there's a ton of information over on the Black Site website. They also do a Twitch stream every Thursday. So if you have any questions, or if you want to find out more, you just visit the Twitch stream and just ask away in there, and the folks will answer you to the best of their abilities. So there you go. Keep your eye out for This Is Not a Test. And remember, if you can cover the explosion with your thumb, you're okay.
You still want to run.
You should be fine. All of those went off a long time ago. That's why Joe's got 3 heads and an arm bigger than his leg. Don't worry about Joe, though. He's still fine. We're all fine here. Right. What's up next then, John?
Right. Well, as some of you will know, I have always campaigned for Team Yankee to have infantry in its boxes. God forbid that Modern Warfare wouldn't have infantry involved. But they got better. It got better. Not in Ute anymore. So what we have now are the pre-orders up for the complete starter set for Team Yankee. And this is, World War III Team Yankee, as it is currently called in this edition. So this has our American friends and our Soviet bears running up against each other, but we also have infantry in the box. So we've got some Bradleys, we've got some of the new plastic American infantry as well.
People.
I think, my initial opinion was this is how it should have been sold from the beginning. The way we have in Flames of War, we have hit the beach. Hit the beach.
Yeah, hit the beach.
And then hit the beach. And then Team Yankee should have had that exact equivalent, but unfortunately it didn't initially. They were pushing the plastic tank range. But now we're getting tanks and infantry in the same box, and I couldn't be happier. Bar the fact the Russians have T-80s and BMP-3s and no one likes those. But, hey, if I don't critique something, people will be like, John, do you really know what you're talking about anymore? It's like, no, I don't.
Well, I suppose the initial release of Team Yankee, they didn't have plastic infantry, did they?
That's it, yeah.
So that was their main stumbling point there, to do a low-cost, accessible point for people for Team Yankee. They had to go all plastic, and to go all plastic meant that they were restricted to armor only.
Tooling new things and stuff like that on top of the vehicles they'd already been working on. Yeah. But this, to me, would be the best way to get into a game like this. It's the same with Flames of War. It's the best way to get into it is that 2-player full plastic starter sets. They're usually the best value for money, and they give you everything you need to start. So, I mean, you can't really complain. We've also got the American Starter Force, which has all these Bradley's infantry, M113s, and a couple of Abrams in there, and even MLRSs, which is nice. No air support.
No,
not many of these starter sets don't have aircraft in them of some variety, or even a helicopter. But I can't really complain because you've got Bradleys in there. They've got those nice Bushmaster chain guns and TOWs or whatever they are. Like, they can handle most things. I think that Bushmaster might be anti-helicopter. I'm not sure. It's some of those cannons are. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, you've also got the M113s with the Gatlings as well for dedicated anti-air. So
just
that's always
spray the sky. Spray the sky over and over again and hope that you can knock down
hit something. Yeah.
Yep.
Hope that you can hit down these coming zipping in at the top.
See what I mean with air support being in there somewhere. Although in this box, I understand because the Soviet don't have there's no dedicated AA in there, and the infantry teams are a little small. Yeah, I would say
it may just be a points balancing thing there. I wonder.
Yeah, it could be.
It's probably some aircraft to push them.
It's probably about, with those T-80s in there, it's about 80, 90 points because the T-80s are very expensive.
Not a kick in the bum off the sort of standard 100-point starting game anyway. Then.
It's for example, the British set they do. You can make that 100 points straight out of the box. You know, if you push it a little bit, you can make it 100 points. What is nice is having the BMP2s in there because BMPs are like how do I say it politely? I can't say it politely. Vodka to an alcoholic. You need you need BMPs as a Russian player of some variety, the ones or the twos. So
I love that.
I do apologize. That was a very bad analogy, but I couldn't think of anything else off the top of my head.
You used vodka, which is Spawn for the Russians.
Yeah.
So on brand, I believe is the phrase.
Yeah, I believe on brand. Yeah.
Has Shay seen this yet?
I don't think Shay needs it. I've seen the size of the Soviet force he has, and I think he has more than he can physically play with.
Wow. Okay.
More than we can physically fit on a table. It's a bit like my East German force. There's more there than a 6x4 really a lot.
It's one of those.
But pre-orders are up for this now. I think it's going to be the best way, probably in my opinion, the only real way to get into Team Yankee as a start. So, like I said, it's always good value. So go in there with a friend and get.
I quite like that the starter force boxes still come with all the extra building blocks to get you going. So obviously the complete starter set comes with things like rules and dice and cards and things, but each of those starter forces also comes with the rule book, quick start guide, etc. as well. So similar to what we were talking about with Armoured Clash, if you want to dive in and just play a particular force, you're not going to feel like you have to go out and buy a starter set and split that with some mates in order to get your hands on the all the extra gummins that you need for the game. So that's
they can work in tandem. You can either start with the big starter forces, or you can buy the complete set and then expand out with the other two. Yeah. It works really well.
Very nice.
Sweet, like so much candy. Right. Up next, Freebooter's Fate. Adjacent to fun and games. What are they up to?
So, Freebooter Miniatures. A lot of people will know them, the German guys, for their work on Freebooter's Fate that Jerry just mentioned, which is their absolutely amazing, not only range of fantasy pirates, but also a brilliant game system. And they do loads of really fun ancillary ones as well. Like there's a cannonball game and all sorts of different things. But they are known for really quality sculpts and a fun, diceless style miniatures game that you can play on the tabletop in sort of skirmishy settings. There you go.
If you're a Highlander fan.
But Freebooter Miniatures are spreading their wings, getting into a spaceship and heading into the stars, because they're also working on a sci-fi skirmish game for 2 to 4 players, which is going to be coming to GameFound very, 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 very soon. In fact, the beginning of August. You've not got long to wait for this one.
No.
So the whole idea is that it's very similar to Freebooter's Fate in a degree, because you are using a diceless set of mechanics for how you decide shooting, combat, all that kind of good stuff. It's still very focused on small groups of characters working together in narratively driven scenarios. There'll be big full campaigns for you to dive into, which will teach you how to play the game. Again, sort of lots of different factions to choose from. There's 2 that they're going to include in the starter boxes, which is Natalie Wu and her adventurers. And then you've got Gordon Freep and his wreckers. You can see Gordon Freep there with his gun standing on top of a wonderful robot. But then, as you can see in the background, there's lots of other factions that they've shown. So they've got these kind of scrapper type fellows who look really interesting. There's someone who looks a lot like Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn, which is kind of cool. But all of this come together in a sort of 2-player initially style game, but you can bring 4 players to the tabletop if you want to play some big fun adventures. Now, as I said, one of the things that Freebooter Miniatures is known for are their quirky, fun miniatures, and I think they seem to have nailed that with what they've got here. I don't think they could avoid not putting something in that was semi-goblin-like, considering the amount of goblins that you see popping up in Freebooter's Fate. So it's good to see them popping up.
How annoyed would you be getting into the stars to discover goblins are already there?
Yeah, and they've already looted everything.
Yes. At least they look happy doing it.
Yeah, very true, exactly. So there's already seemingly a large range of miniatures for you to choose from. They've already been working on the rules. There's a whole bunch of videos they've done already over on their YouTube channel. They're in German, but you've got English subtitles at the bottom. So if you want to learn how the game works, you can go and watch those.
Learn a bit of German while you're at it.
Yeah, learn some German. Yeah, learn some very appropriate tabletop German at the same time. And they've also, as I said, teased that starter box, which comes with the 2 factions for you to get going. It comes with all the additional bits and pieces you need. So you get your accessories, your dice, your cards, your rule book, and all that kind of good stuff. And then the thing that I think is really nice, and it's something we've talked about in previous starter sets, even in this show as well, is that kind of guiding campaign. So once you dive in, it'll sort of teach you the mechanics step by step as you go through, which I think is incredibly important, especially for a new game that's kind of like on a skirmish level like this, I think, to really sort of ram home the narrative and sort of introduce you, especially if you've maybe not looked at something like this before, to be honest. But if you're a fan of the likes of, things like Guardians of the Galaxy, Firefly, and all that kind of good stuff, I think you'll find a little bit of a home in this game. They're used as status markers. They're not for the actual rolling.
Don't be fooled, people. Although I do still suggest that whenever anybody plays bolt action, to make life more interesting, they should roll the bolt action die they pull out of the bag. So
see what they do.
You nominate the squad and then roll it and go, they're going down today. But yeah.
We'll play a game like that, Jerry, see how well it goes for us, shall we?
I have played a game like that. It's utterly horrendous.
Random bolt action. Yeah.
Yep. That's a jam-packed starter set.
Really
I will say right off the bat, though, how many people are going to paint the twins in black because he screams Morpheus?
Yes.
Yes. You can still
He
paint
does.
this twin white. That can be Switch.
Yes.
I always forgot about Switch. Yeah.
She died so soon.
Not like this.
Rex looks fabulous, though. Fabulous.
Yes. Rex is wonderful. I love it. I think if I was going to choose one of the factions straight out of that box, I think Natalie Wu's crew looks like kind of badass because I think they look different. So
I like the others because I love
John's correct.
the Z-Can.
any miniature with someone holding a rifle across
over
their
their
shoulders. Like I love that. That's a power pose. I don't need to point my weapon at you. I know I'm going to kill you.
I'm looking at Gordon here, who's fanning his laser pistol in a
Yes.
very Malcolm Reynolds style way.
He's applying recoil to a recoilless weapon so that he doesn't lose the muscle memory. Like,
Yep. And Freep.
I have watched too many videos on people explaining why laser weapons shouldn't have recoil or why they might.
Freep is great. But, it's the same reason that bolters fire caseless ammunition. Yeah, every picture of a bolter you ever see has got a ton of brass
There's
casings
cases
on
flying
it.
out of them.
It's because every magazine, every mag for those guns is like half of it is actual ammo and the other half is just empty cartridges to give so the Marines have something to look at because they're like children. You need to dangle keys in front of Marines and they get bored and wander off. So yeah, that same sort of thing. That Freep is I don't know if it's the fact he's got the tiny little
Z-Can.
or the Z-Can, sorry, the little mono wheel, or the fact that he's got such a weird little low profile
Johnny Five
head
Mm-hmm.
just sticking out the top of,
And the
of those
bandana.
massive shoulders.
Yeah.
Well, that's clearly a dust mask because he doesn't want anything getting into his little voxulator
I
because
also-
he's not got the reach to get anything out of there.
Yeah. I said obviously kind of Guardians of the Galaxy kind of vibes. Also
Oh,
very much Borderlands as well. I think you could work with this.
There's a good
go
bit of
very
Borderlands
poppy with
in
the
there.
colours and all that kind of thing. That would be really cool. But yes, coming very, very soon to GameFound. And if you're somebody who likes skirmish games and you have enjoyed the stuff that Freebooter Miniatures have done in the past for Fate, then definitely come and check this one out because it'll have a lot of that similar DNA in there, but with a sci-fi twist. So yeah.
Fancy. Right. Final bit of news. Is this because the dwarves in Warcrow that they've previewed don't have beards, Ben? Is this why this is included here?
Yep.
Tell us what's next, Ben.
Finally, oh my god, as if they aren't taking their time. The Dwarven Mountain Holds are up for pre-order this weekend for Warhammer the Old World. We saw these previews like 2 months ago. Oh my god. And it's taken them until now to get them out into the world.
Is that why you put finally in the title as well?
Yes. Yeah. They must have had to dust off quite a lot of old regiment boxes to take all the sprues out and put the new ones in there.
They're in the storehouse with a blue spray paint.
Yeah. But yes, you're going to finally be able to get your hands on just a general release, effectively, of all of the new Dwarven Mountain Hold stuff for the old world. So this starts off with the Dwarven Mountain Holds Battalion, which comes with a bunch of the core troops that you're going to need. So you've got 2 sets of warriors that could be built into larger or smaller units, depending on what you want. Armed with hand weapons and shields or great weapons, as you so desire. You've then got the Thunderers / Quarrelers, so you can again make them with their rifles or their crossbows, depending on which way you want to go there as well. And then there are 2 kits in the box that allow you to make gyrocopters or gyro bombers, which were some of the newer kits that they designed towards the end of 7th, beginning of 8th. So you've got some new options there as well. But again, obviously, with a lot of stuff we've seen for Old World in the past with the Orcs and the Bretonnians and stuff like that. They're the old plastic kits. So if you are looking for new designed dwarves, you'll have to go elsewhere or just pick up some of the characters, I guess. But
that's fine.
I still quite like them. So
yeah. Obviously, don't build them with hand weapons. Why are you giving, or double-handed weapons rather? Why are you giving dwarves double-handed weapons if they're not long beards? I would like my great weapon dwarves to actually make it into combat, please. So they stand behind the dwarves with hand weapon and shields, and then you just want the additional piercing. I'd like strength and armor piercing, please. So thunders all the way.
As someone who routinely fights ogres, very handy.
Yeah.
So yes, but those 2 sets within that box. So obviously you've got the 32 warriors and the 32 quarrelers, thunderers. You can mix and match them as much as you like. So it's just a decent starting point anyway for anyone diving in. But yeah, so I'm very tempted by it. I mean, I already have 5,000 points of dwarves, but I'm also like, I could strip these. And then my friend went, why don't you? And I went, because I'd have to strip them. And
I'd have to strip them and then well, stripping them is not difficult.
Them.
They just go into a bucket. It's the repainting bit.
It's the cleaning them and the repainting them. Yeah.
No,
so
not
new
happening.
dwarves
There's
for me,
Alric.
I guess. But yes, you'll be able to get your hands on the new Arcane Journal as well. Now, you don't need the Arcane Journal to play dwarves in the old world. If you already have the if you already have the blue books from the new version of the game, then they've always spelt dwarven with an F in Warhammer, Jerry. It was an affectation, even though it's meant to be V, because that's the way it's meant to be spelt. But there we go. It's why Mantic spell it with an F as well. So
I know both are valid. Well, that's a Tolkien-esque derivation because Tolkien came in and added the V.
Yeah.
Whereas Dwarfen
should always be V
that.
for fantasy. God damn it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'll start a miniature range of dwarves and I'll spell it with an F and a V for you.
Dwarfen.
just interchangeably, just every now and again, just
back
change
and
it over.
forward.
Yeah.
It's like no one knows exactly how many A's are meant to be in the official WAR if it was printed on text somewhere. Yeah, 3.
It should be 3.
It should be 3. Yeah, and an exclamation point at the end, of course. But yes, the Arcane Journal comes with additional rules for playing with the dwarves. So you get a couple of special character profiles in there, as well as 2 thematic ways to build your armies. There's kind of an expeditionary force, which is more ranger focused. And then there's like a royal guard one, which is more about sort of like your regular dwarven clans and things like that.
I just remembered this isn't Warhammer again. It just kicked back in. I'm thinking, why would it only have a couple of profiles for blah? Why does it not just have all of the heroes? And then I was like, yeah, that's because it's not. Yeah, all right. Move on with my life. Sorry.
Everyone's young or not. But but anyway, I mean, dwarves live forever, so whatever. Yeah. But yes, you can also get yourself the card deck and the special dice and the transfers. So if you don't want to do any freehand work on your banners and stuff like that, you've got some options on that front alongside all the runes you could ever need.
Yes.
Use those for your saga armies, maybe.
Saga.
Yeah.
Well, just do what I did, which was just spell out swear words on my banners when I was a kid. The full dwarven runic alphabet was in all of the books.
Yeah.
Yeah, so constantly writing stuff on those.
The old books with all that in it. Yeah, so. On top of the new battalion and the Arcane Journal, which, as I say, you don't need if you've already got the blue books, you will also be able to get your hands on new plastic and Forge World resin miniatures. So the plastic set is the new Dwarven Lord kit, which comes with the Dwarf Lord on the back of a shield, carried into battle by his faithful retainers. And the set allows you to make 2 models. So you'll be able to make a Dwarf Lord on foot and on shield. And you can give either of them whichever weapon. So you can have the hand weapon shield on the guy on the back of the shield, and you can have the great weapon on foot, etc., whichever way you want it to go, really. So there's lots of mix and match options when it comes to that set. Obviously, it's probably going to cost you the earth, but there we go. GW. It'll cost you less if you buy it from us. So there we go.
Just remembered
on Tabletop.
I have the anniversary shield bearer they did. So. Do you remember they did the shield bearer with the white dwarf being carried by Gotrek and somebody else?
Gotrek, Joseph Bugman. and someone else, and
the white dwarf was on top. I think it might just have been Joseph and Gotrek underneath.
Maybe it was.
It might be.
It's never come out of the box. I completely forgot I owned that. I'd write that
Of course
down.
you do.
You keep talking, because I need to
Yeah.
go looking for that later. Talk amongst
So
yourself.
so that's the new plastic kit. But in addition to that, there's also a couple of Forge World resin miniatures. Or since, as someone pointed out in a podcast recently, why do we keep calling it Forge World resin anymore? It's 15 plus miniatures, right?
What? Who?
It's the 15 plus range because only 15 plus people can use these. But yes, you're able to get your hands on the Dwarf Thane with handgun. So alongside the Oath Stone, as you can see underneath there. So if you want to make sure that your dwarves don't go running,
Does look really good.
it is very nice.
Mm.
I love that massively winged helm. It's so over the top.
Is this one of the resins?
It's one of the resins.
Also, it'll
Yeah.
never look like that, actually.
No. Unless you really clean it very nice.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, got pipe by the side of him as well. Obviously a good model to stick in a regiment of Thunderers or something like that, or have at the back watching over your cannons and things. If you wanted to make him into more of an engineer rather than a Thane, would be a good way to go. And then, last but not least, when it comes to the Forge World resin side of things, there's also the miniature of the younger Ungrim Iron Fist, who is still obviously the Slayer King. So obviously the old miniature of him is a little squatter. But the nice thing about this one is that it carries through a lot of those same themes into this younger model. So he has the same style of helm, he has the same style of axe. It's just obviously been changed to kind of work with a slightly younger version of Iron Fist.
Doesn't look like he's got his cloak, though.
No, his dragon cloak.
His dragon cloak.
Yeah.
So he's not going to get fire protection
yet. No.
Oh, dear. What a shame.
Yeah.
I see someone who's been set on fire.
Well, that means you've set up the perfect scenario for him to go hunt the dragon and claim it for himself, and then you can play a really fun narrative thing, and you can give him the cloak.
Because he'll be on fire.
How dare you burn my dwarves? We've already seen someone burn an entire army of elves. We don't need to see them burning dwarves.
Yeah, proper elves as well. Under the true Phoenix King.
So yes, as well as the plastic miniatures and the Forge World resin ones, they're also bringing back a whole host of the old metal kits. So the classic Marauder dwarves are coming back as your dwarven mercenaries. I hope you are going to try and work out the proportions and everything between your armies when you set these on the table, because man, it's going to be weird. But yes, if you want some classic metal dwarves, they're going to be doing things like this sort of mercenary unit for you to drop into your games with no knees whatsoever. Who needs knees?
They
did, and they'd be awesome.
They kind of look like those medieval paintings trying to do cats.
Yes,
it's fine.
There's something very abstract about them.
And a whole bunch of other metal kits coming out as well.
The Colin Dixon ones.
They're Marauder. So
they're Marauder, yeah.
So,
they might be, but then Trish and Ali also did bits and pieces for the dwarf range, so they could be somewhere else. I can't honestly remember. Age has caught up with me, I'm afraid. I had such a big regiment of these. I just ran a block of 30 of these dwarf spear because I love them. They were stunning. They were also all lead. Oh my God.
You could kill a man with that regiment.
Yeah.
You also have some newer metal miniatures as well. So the Goblin here is going to be coming back, although I think this might actually be turned into a resin kit, as they tend to do a lot of their artillery pieces. So this will be, alas, obviously,
Malachi's son.
He's not with it, obviously, because he's, not doing this at this point in the history of the old world. But it's a bit of a shame because it would have been fun to have him anyway. So
but the machine he invented is available, even though he has not yet reached the point where he's become a Slayer. This is why they shouldn't have started pissing around with the timelines.
Yeah.
Don't do it, people. You'll get back to the future and you'll discover that you're stepping on a butterfly or something.
You think, so who did make this then? Did Malachi not make it? I mean, what's going on?
Is that why he ended up a Slayer? Because he stole this invention. He found it in an old book, went, I've made this, and then somebody went, no, you haven't. I remember my grandfather telling me about those. So, I've got to become a Slayer.
It was a particularly litigious engineer that got involved. Yeah.
Oh, well, that'll be all of them.
And then last but not least, I mean, this is just a little taste of what's available. They're also going to make the classic Bugman's cart available as well. So if you're looking to go fully old school, you'll be able to pick it up
I mean, how much are they going to cost? Yeah.
Oh, God.
Five
Grail Knights for the Bretonnians is like £45-50 or something ridiculous. So, you're buggered.
Yeah.
Hobby,
yeah,
everybody.
I really am. To be fair, though, the last time I seen Bugman available for sale, somebody had a sealed blister on Fleabay, and it was 85. I came dangerously close.
You can. I've got Sleeping Bugman that I got from Bugman's Bar years ago, but you can still buy the old metal Joseph Bugman from Warhammer World.
Mm-hmm.
So I assume he's still available. He was the only thing that I think you could get there. You can't get the game anymore, like the Bugman's board game or anything, but I think that metal model of Joseph Bugman is still there. So maybe see if we can pick that up potentially.
Sweet. Right. That's enough news. Why don't we have a quick swish and then we get stuck into the Spring Clean Challenge winners?
Did you win one of our prizes? Find out on our prize claim center over at OnTableTop.com. Here we list all our previous prizes and those who have won. If you see your username, fill out the form to claim your prize. All prizes must be claimed within 30 days.
Okay, everyone. It's been a hot minute. Isn't that what they say? Actually, it's not been too bad. It's only 3 weeks since spring sprung. And we've managed to actually look at your projects, shortlist them, which wasn't easy, and then put them into some semblance of order that we could pick out the best of them. I mean, I can't even really say the ones that we felt best,
the ones that screamed to us.
Yeah,
the category. I think.
Which was very tricky, as always. Some projects can fit into multiple categories, and indeed did, before we whittled them down and then went, you live in this category now, and now we have to just compare you with everybody else in here. And it really is, you often hear the phrase comparing apples with oranges. It's kind of like that, because sometimes you're looking at somebody on a specific skill level, and then you're looking at another project, and maybe technically they're not as good as the first person. But you're trying to judge
journey
them.
that they've taken to get there and all that kind of thing all helps.
They've like learned it as they've went.
Yeah. So obviously we'll put down some other commended entries, and you can still go in and just check out the project system anyway and see who was in the Spring Clean Challenge, what projects popped up in there. So even though we have our categories and our winners, you may have your own. Feel free to debate that one below, which we definitely 100% will read and take on board any of your comments there. Like, comment, subscribe. No.
Jerry's suggestion box in the office is a shredder. So
it's that meme. It's that meme of the stuff coming out of the printer and going straight into the shredder.
100%. Yeah. Anyway, that aside,
it's modern art.
We have our 5 categories we're going to be getting into. 3 of them are based on the same categories that you can vote in the project system in our button smashing love, skill, idea, and tutorial. However, this is not a popularity and button pressing competition. So the winners for these individual ones are not necessarily the ones with the highest number of votes in that category. Bear that in mind.
We take that into account, but then it is also our decisions.
Yeah. Because somebody has been seen more often and therefore have more button clicks doesn't automatically mean they get pushed to the top for this. So what is our first category that we're going to be looking at, Ben?
So our first category is skill. And for all of these categories, there is a runner-up and a winner. The runners-up get themselves a £25 runner-up voucher for Wayland Games, and then there's also a £75 winner's voucher as well for the winner, funnily enough. But
if we'd done it the other way around, that'd be really weird.
Yeah, that would be strange. Yeah. You did kind of well. Here's some money to help you soothe the loss. But yes, so the first runner-up that we're going to be looking at for skill comes from Scribs, who was revisiting a project that is near and dear to my heart over the last couple of years, And I still feel bad that I haven't painted most of my Warhammer War Master miniatures that were printed off for me. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. But in this particular project, Scribs was taking some of their classic War Master miniatures for their Chaos Army and taking them from that old scheme, as you can see there, to a new brand spanking scheme that would allow them to dive back onto the tabletop and show off their Chaos Warriors in all their glory. And it was a wonderful little collection of images showing off the various units coming to life in the different color schemes. I really liked that it was kind of based on something that had been done in 28mm and then looking at that sort of then replicated for a smaller scale.
Yeah.
I think the bright scheme in the end is very good because it kind of draws the eye, especially to small miniatures. And it's a little bit different from kind of what you're like normally going to see when you see Chaos armies. I think a lot of the time you see, like, as we saw in the initial picture there,
red and black,
dark metallics, red, dark green, dark blue, all that kind of thing. Whereas in this case, we've got slightly lighter yellows and blues alongside the flesh tones and all that kind of thing. And in true keeping with the idea of it being a skill entry, it was fascinating to see that technique then applied across the entire army and brought to life in a wonderful style. And I think they've come together exceptionally well as a little army. And it just goes to show what you can do if you apply yourself to it. Yes.
It's
you
so
heard me.
clean for the scale. It's so clean really for the scale. Yeah.
I also really like the fact Danny Trejo's there.
Yes, he is.
Machete is a Chaos Warrior.
Marauder kill.
But yeah, it was terrific. Obviously, there was a lot going into this, not just the revisiting the old stuff, but managing to procure some new bits and pieces to expand the force. And then actually the finished force looks really, really smart.
It's
indeed.
lovely.
You say you've still got to get around to doing some of yours. We got a free 1,000-point starter army when they launched War Master. So we were literally going, here's all the starter armies, pick one you want. My elves are still sitting, waiting for, some of them are still waiting for primer. So
no way.
You,
God.
You have got a lot of catching up to do when it comes to laziness, my friend.
I think I fully painted one unit and then the front rank of a couple of others. And then I kind of got disheartened by how much effort I was putting in. And I was like, but yeah, I should have, if I'd seen Scribs' stuff, I would have been pushed on to do more work. So
I just adore it because for painting a War Master force or any small scale force, the painting techniques are similar. But you need to adjust them slightly. And what works in 28mm often doesn't work the same way you would expect it to in 10mm, for example, here. Proper 10mm as well, not that heroic 10. And it's great just seeing this whole force come together from Scribs. So terrific runner-up and spectacular looking army. And I look forward to the battle report Scribs that I know must be coming. Right.
It's a must now. Yeah.
Who is our winner?
Yeah. So obviously, congratulations there. As you say, Scribs, £25 voucher. Make sure you go and claim that. There'll be a link in the show notes for you to go and get that from the Prize Claim Center. So go and do it quickly now. But anyway, the winner of the category is
drumroll
Necron 009. Who did a project focused around their Arthurians. Ooh. And this was very much in keeping with the idea of Sprinkling Challenge and very much a skill-based one because it was heavily focused on I've got the models, I'm going to take some progress photos, but here's a lot of the finished stuff, which is obviously fine for when you're being entered into this kind of thing. And so, yes, a bunch of Arthurians had landed on their table, I think it was last year, or a little bit before that, and they'd gone, I've kind of half painted these. Maybe I should get involved and start getting these finished for use on the tabletop. And that's exactly what Necron did. And one of the fascinating things about this project, and you can see it in some of the images that Jerry's showing off here, is that Necron obviously updated the painting schemes and really went in and fleshed them out and did amazing work on those. But did lots of nice, fun, cool, like skill-based stuff as well.
Mhm.
So did lovely little bits of freehanding, did all the additional work to things like the lances and the spears and the scabbards and all that kind of scabbards and stuff like that, adding on those additional colors, working on things for shields and all that kind of bits and pieces, sculpting little bits and all that kind of stuff as well. And I thought it all came together to create a really fantastic looking set of figures, while small, that show off lots of love and attention going into a collection effectively. And I think it all came together exceptionally well to create a wonderful set of Arthurian models. And I mean, just look at the work on the shields.
The freehanding on the shields, I absolutely adore, because it's very easy to either not or to just go down the route of transfers, especially with Little Big Man Studios, who I think those are actual Little Big Man
ones for the larger shields,
and they look great. However, every Arthurian / Romano-British warband that you see out there for games like Saga, for example, has them. I know mine does, which means, they're lovely, but they're not unique. They're not individual. The work he put in to make his Knights of the Round Table all have their own little individualized
heraldry
touch.
and stuff.
Is absolutely gorgeous. I adore just doing the Draco standard. That itself was smashing. It's like
it's
all come to life.
It's all the little things as well, like the hem of some of the cloaks having the additional detail work done to them.
Yeah.
And while it wouldn't necessarily be considered, like Golden Demon winning or anything like that, it's just showing that effort put into the project to make that come to life, that I think really sells it as a project. Yeah, it's really nice.
Oh, I
love
adore
it a
these.
lot.
I also like the fact that he has named and shamed the individuals, so we know that's Gawain, Talcyon, and the like. As far as naming, I mean, you don't need to. Absolutely no reason.
So if they
for
do
it.
badly on the battlefield, do you know why now? So,
you know why Sir Kay is absolutely shit, and then you don't want to be bringing him back again.
Did win. And Brave Sir Robin just ran away, didn't he? So yeah.
And there's more. Yeah, he did. Really did. And Arthur's son, Mordred, lovely fella. Have you met him? His mother's a darling. Don't worry about any of that. But again, it's not just that the overall look is great. I really like just seeing somebody take a set of classic miniatures that these have probably been pounding around for years before he got his hands on them, and then years subsequently.
Yeah.
And finally, these Foundry miniatures are getting painted up, and Mr. Arthur King looks splendiferous in his purple robes. I mean,
they were a job lot off eBay that were kind of half painted, and they've come together to look absolutely amazing, as you can see. So, yeah.
Oh, I love them. I think they're all Perry sculpts as well. Anyway, yeah. Really,
well done,
really
Necron.
Terrific stuff. And a worthy winner. And there's the Knight Caractacus, which puts me in mind of the Court of King Caractacus, the song by everybody's favourite Australian. Anyway.
Somewhere, Jerry, someone will cotton onto that.
That's fine. It doesn't matter if they don't. As long as I've had my fun, and that's all that matters.
Very true. Yeah.
So our next category is the tutorials. So for this category, we were looking for people who really represented the explanation of whatever they were doing, whether it was building a bit of terrain, painting a specific color scheme or uniform or style of painting, something that you could go in, follow along, and replicate if needs be. So there were some terrific tutorials in there. There were some that were borderline, and then when we reread it, you're going, kind of, could somebody follow this if they weren't 100%? No, maybe not. Maybe just fell just short. And so we have a pair of terrific tutorializations. The first of which, and our runner-up, is LSR. And this is a gorgeous set of tiny little pike and shot for Walad games.
For that other 10 mil game.
Their other heroic 10 mil game. Specifically, started as a Christmas-based project and then went from there. But this is putting together these Scots Covenanters, so your Montrose and Highlanders. And often people go, painting tartan on 28 mil figures. When you're having to do something like a heroic 10 mil that has a distinctive look, it can become even more of a quandary, shall we say. So as you can see, there is the bright green tartan plaids on these fellas with their lovely UN peacekeeping hats. Who knew the Montrose Highlanders were members of the UN? But they were, and that's fact. You can't remove that. So the nice thing about LSR's tutorials is that they contain a wealth of photo images, an absolute ton of them, as you can see there. But he combined this with some video tutorials as well. So if I jimmy my way down past the terrain, hello terrain, hello guys, they look great. You can see the sort of style of the painting, but then it's explained via the medium of a sort of 20-minute, half-hour video. But each one is accompanied by a pictorial representation. So he took either stills from the video or took pictures in between. I don't know which. I don't care. But you get those along with the explanation of the paint used and the intention of the step as well, which was very important. So you could go, I'm doing this. This needs to cover. This doesn't need to be particularly neat because the next step will do X, or, you know, all of those little hints in there so you don't drive yourself up the wall when painting something like this. And like I say, you could go in and actually, a picture's worth 1,000 words, they say, and a video, maybe twice that. So if you're looking at it and going, well, he says he's done Caucasian flesh on the belts for whatever reason. What does he mean by that? You can go and watch the video and see him actually applying the paint and talking through the process then as well. So depending on how you pick things up, maybe watch the video and then pop back in afterwards. And then you can just follow the gallery, because by that stage, you'll know what he's doing. It's the Bob Ross technique. Watch once and then copy next time. Set up your easel, paint along with LSR. Come on. No, you want to. And
happy little accident.
Yeah. And it's a terrific explanation of how to paint at the scale and also how to replicate that specific, I was going to say regiment, but those specific fighters in the English Civil War. So you've got your Montrose. And just a smashing tutorial all round from LSR.
Well done.
That was our runner-up. So
yes.
A shiny digital voucher is winging its way to you via the medium of ones and zeros in the internet. But we have a winner, and our winner is Demon Sub for his unusual elves. I do say unusual. So technically, these are elves, the Wildgeist. And this was great because, again, it's all about the tutorial. And this starts from bare bones, like LSR's, working its way through not just the miniatures themselves, but also the inspiration, where the stuff came from, the game it's going to be used in, why this collection has been put together. So essentially it's, I'm going to be playing this game. These are going to be representative of elves in it, even though they're weird tree people and weirder tree riding boar calf type thing, you know. So all of this is just the basis for the tutorial itself. But then when he gets into it, you get a host of explanation behind the style of painting. And again, goes into the nitty gritty. So that's just your preparatory work there, as you can see, just to get into position to start the painting. But it breaks down all of it, even, you know, picking up a tub of the kraut cover, which everybody and their dog is really fond of at the moment, and go, well,
amazing stuff. Yeah.
Some of this I found too big, some too small, picked out specific pieces with tweezers. So the
Madness.
basing material itself. There's a tutorial on how to fix your basing material for your tabletop. And then from that point on, it's into the painting. So, base primers down, zenithing, whatever it happens to be. In this case, used sort of neutral primers as a basis and then started using dry brushing to not only highlight and accentuate the detail, but then also to add highlighting itself, because as it explains in one of these, here we go there, the second highlight in white was applied lightly and mainly in a downward pattern to mimic the light coming in. So you're not just going dry brush the whole thing, but dry brush the whole thing. And then your second dry brush, top down, make it lighter. Just have that, the gentle caress of sunlight across their head and shoulders to help with the overall effect then later on. Even down to blending up some of that chunky kraut cover. Too thick, too chunky. Don't want that. While everybody's out, break out the blender and clean it before anybody notices what you've done. It's a handy way of doing it. And I just absolutely adore the effects that he's got. And like I say, the wealth of detail that comes throughout the whole tutorial. I mean, the key in here was, could somebody follow this? And yes, because there's the full list of painting recipes. So for the wood, I'm using from primer all the way down to final highlight. For leaves, I'm using this. For the base cover, I'm using X, Y, and Z. Here's how it's applied. Here's how it's worked. Which means if you come in and you go, well, I've got a tree man to paint, or I've got some forest shamblers for Kings of War, or I want to do, I would have done her more of a silver birch, but that's just me. You can follow along, or you can just go in and go, well, I've got some terrain to make, which requires a lot of old gnarly wood. Here's some really nice wood effects. How did he do that? Here's how it was all done. Here's the steps and layers you need, and you can work it out. There is our silver birchy girl. And so it's comprehensive.
It really is.
Yeah. From bare metal, how you clean it up, how you base the stuff, how you prime it, and then all the way through to how do you finish it off. And at the end of it, you've got this stunning set of really weird tree people. I know he keeps telling me they're elves, but I don't know if they're, pointy-eared and racist enough to be elves. And it's just an amazing project to look at and just see it all come together. And
again, like a really nice combination of both pictorial reference images and helpful ideas alongside the descriptive element to understand why you're making particular choices. And it could easily have been in, as we said earlier, like another category, could easily have been in skill and idea as well, to be honest. But really wonderful. Really good.
It's a cheeky little Lloyd shot to finish it off.
That end photography is fantastic as well.
Yeah.
Look, shrooms. It's as well Warren's not here. But yeah, so that is our winner for our tutorial, and a terrific one at that.
Super.
And so much in there. A wealth of information for anybody who's ever wanted to paint wood or creepy, weird, racist elves. They are also available. So yes, congrats, you well done. £75. Don't spend it all in one shop. Actually, you have to spend it all in one shop because it's only available in one shop. How it goes.
Buy a gunpla kit.
Yeah.
What?
And then make it into a wooden gunpla.
Don't do that. Don't do any of that.
Do something crazy with it.
I'll call it gunpla because it's gum trees, right? No,
I'm with you.
No.
I'm with you.
Anyway,
you've lost me, Ben. Moving on.
Benjamin. Our next category, please.
Yes. So the next category we're going to be looking at is idea. This is the category where the idea doesn't necessarily have to be finished. The product doesn't have to have reached an end step. It doesn't have to be the best quality thing.
Like my project.
Lovely photo. Anything that John make, no. But this was one where we kind of honed in on some really just fun, cool ideas that definitely caught our attention. The first of these, and our runner-up, so a £25 voucher, goes to Zoid Pinhead, who had a whole bunch of oldie Imperial Guard sitting around in their collection. Plenty of sort of your classic, are they the Mordians?
They are Mordian Iron Guard. These aren't, but they
Mordian
are.
Iron Guard.
Yeah.
Yes. There was a lot of Mordian Iron Guard lying around. But in addition to that, there was also quite a lot of old Warzone Resurrection Bauhaus stuff as well. I think fairly too many people have quite a lot of that old stuff in their collection somewhere.
I don't. I give mine away to a friend.
Yeah. And so the idea came together to bring these two ranges into one and create an awesome Imperial Guard army inspired by the color schemes and the ideas of Bauhaus brought to the tabletop. And it turned into an exceptionally cool project, one that we have looked at in the past, and Golden Button has been meted out for it. But it was just, I remember when I saw this for the first time and I was like, that just gels so well as an idea. That kind of very heavily militaristic Germanic side to Bauhaus in Warzone Resurrection works really well with that constant grind of machinery of war that you get in Warhammer 40k. And then obviously the color scheme being carried over as well just matches exceptionally well with the miniatures, the old classic metal ones. And then the eventual product was a fantastic army, as you can see here, with all the different squads painted up in different ways, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. So yeah, a mixture of different bits and pieces, different components, different elements.
Yeah.
All coming together.
From the very old to the new. So
from the very old to the new.
I'm going to say at least 20 years worth of miniatures there, and possibly bordering.
Yes.
Possibly bordering on closer to 25 or maybe even 30 in some cases.
Yeah.
Because the Mordians are very old, but then there's also some of the lovely Wargames Atlantic Le Grognards in there as well, with some Prussian heads.
The Resurrection stuff is what, at least 10 years old, maybe more. Oh my God.
Yeah. So a beautiful project and a terrific idea. You know, how can I bring all these desperate elements that are lying around my house together? I can do it by the medium of dance and
I think
Mordians.
I think that it brings home that thought, that idea, that if you look at other games and other worlds, and they shouldn't necessarily just sit separately. If you have a thought of how something can be melded into the game that you play, just have a go and sort of blend it together and see what happens and see what comes out the other side. Because as you saw there, it seemed like it was a perfect marriage of those schemes and ideas from Bauhaus mixed with 40k and the Grimdark Future. Well, an alternative Grimdark Future anyway. Came together into a wonderful army. And yes, also very good work on the basing. I loved the basing. Very nice. Gave it that cold, militaristic feel.
Nobody likes being out in the cold. No. Except the Mordian Iron Guards. Love it. Absolutely love it.
And the Valhallans. Nipples are steel, those guys.
Right.
By the coats or
That's
something.
only our runner-up.
Yeah.
Who gets to be our winner war?
So the winner of this one, and this was one that me and Jerry looked at and we were like, could fit into two different categories. And then we came back to the ideas one and we were like, you know what? This has got to be in there. So this one started back in April last year. The idea, the sort of the genesis of the project. And this one is from Goram, who has put together an army of wee free men for use in Kings of War. So the initial idea was sparked by watching a YouTube channel called Miscast, which is absolutely fantastic. If you've not seen it, make sure to check him out. He's awesome. Trent does some really cool stuff. And his idea is give it a try, experiment, make mistakes, and have fun. And so that combined with Goram wanting to do something to kind of honor their dad as well at the same time, who was a big fan of Discworld, decided to try and take the idea of the wee free men, an army of Knack Mac Feagles, and turn them into something for use in modern games. And then the ball started to roll and things started to come together. Miniatures were bought, ideas were formulated, army lists were made. And then, as is the case with all sorts of different projects, it kind of fell by the wayside. I mean, Goram does a lot of stuff anyway, so I can understand why. But then, as we swung round to this year, we got to see all of those plans coming together in much more detail. Now, obviously, in that planning stage, there was lots of comparisons to different miniatures and how things were going to work. The idea of actually running a wee army, like a very tiny army, but it's actually in 28 mil kind of thing, was just a fascinating concept. And it's so interesting looking at the stuff that Gorham decided to pick up in terms of miniatures, and then how that then gets folded into how you build different units and how they work, and then basing that onto the artwork that you get from the Discworld books and all that kind of stuff as well.
Kidby's artwork.
Yeah. And then everything this year was brought together into creating the army itself and getting lots of it painted up. And it went from the idea that nearly vanished into a box somewhere under a bed. And as she says, insert SpongeBob meme, 8 months later. The miniatures started to come together. The painting started to happen. The bases started to get built. The army started to come together as well. And the finished result, I think, was pretty damn astonishing in its own right. But I know you were very, very taken with this one, Jerry.
Maybe a little bit. What? Who? Terry what? Kings of the Other.
So
Never heard of it.
So you're saying when I said, "Oh, what do you think of this one?" and you went, "Excuse me, needs to be in here."
Yes, it's interesting for a couple of reasons. It's a 28 mil army that doesn't look 28 mil, which is because it's meant to be tiny 6-inch tall
fighting
figures, and so the concept was start with this giant. That'll become Tiffany the Witch, which means it's actually technically 2 scales. It's a 28 mil army for Kings of War. However, they are scaled appropriately to her, and she would be like a 1/6 figure. So it's a 1/6 scale Knack McFeegle army that you can play in 28 mil. And just seeing all of this come around has been amazing, because it was a case of, well, if Tiffany is this big because of this giant, then these need to be 10 mil figures. So then it was good to find something that would be appropriate for the Pixies, who are essentially spiky haired, tiny, blue skinned Scotsmen running around the place, battering everybody.
Isn't that all Scottish people?
I'm glad you said that, because I'd like to visit Scotland again in my future.
I'm glad the Englishman said it.
Yes. But just all of this, I mean, this one could have went into tutorial, but the idea,
it was the concept,
the
central concept that was so much of a
genius, absolute genius. And the nice thing about it is, you don't need to see the completed force, because it's all coming together in here. But she did complete it, which really helps a lot. So you can see there's a wealth of stuff in there about how the basing is going to be put together and everything else. But if I skip to the other page, you can start to see how the wee free men actually look. And so things like putting the sheep liniment. So the rubbing alcohol that they would often steal to drink, again, scales them to Tiffany and to her world, which means that you can look down at it and go, well, they are smaller, 2 of them are bottle tall. So that gives you an idea of scale appropriateness, how it all came together, finding a granny at the opera and turning her into the shepherdess, the porcelain figure again. So that's not a 28 mil figure. That's a little porcelain knick-knack that those little tiny buggers are running past. All of this, absolute genius. I think I love you. It's just how it goes. I was blown away from the concept to the execution, and then the finishing touches are ridiculous. And by that, I mean, the army is built, themed, dressed appropriately. Molds have been made to get the frog for one of the characters to sit on as a mount. And then it was like, well, I've got a themed army, and it brought me back to Nigel Stillman's Bretonians. Have your army, make everything for your army, make a box that the army fits in. It never changes. Learn how to play this army. That's Stillmania concept. And this was sort of finished off with the dice and the the dice holder that Jill made in
Yep.
the end, because again, there's another fantastic little touch where Tiffany's gran used to smoke Jolly Sailor tobacco, and so she went and found, there's the unfortunate looking Tiffany, that changed, because, you know, what's it, lipstick on a pig, I think is the phrase. that giant was never supposed to be a young girl, and in the end Jill went, that giant's, yeah, it's not going to be a young girl, I'll find a doll's head and replace it, and that looks, you know, much better. So right there you can see the wee big witch, but the Jolly Sailor tobacco tin to store her dice in was just great. And it was a case of going in there and going, you know what, I'm going to add, gone the wrong way. How did you open in the middle, you random thing, you? This is why I'm sticking to Bing from now on. So making the actual tobacco advertising for a little old tobacco tin, and then making that her dice carrying tin to match in with the whole army, which all fits together, including the big cheese Horace, living with poor Daft Willie on top. Just all of it. It's an army that's also a diorama, and perfectly gameable and in 2 scales. So if anybody ever starts 1/6 Wargaming,
yeah,
I mean, right in there.
Yeah.
So that's our Quinor. I'm going to shut up about that
Very
now,
well
otherwise we're never going to leave here, are we?
No.
Sorry. Sorry, but at the same time, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, so that's how that one goes. Right. So that leaves behind our metric.
Yes.
Yeah, our metric categories. Now it's a bit more avant-garde, a bit more freeform, a bit more stylistically chosen. And the first of these categories is for our young ones, or the otter pups, as I like to think of them. So our best junior member, somebody who's got into the project, done a bit of work, and they are sub 14 or sub 16? 16, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whatever age we said you had to be younger than, they're younger
than
you're
younger than that. Yeah.
So our runner-up for this category is Starlight. And Starlight has been joining in now as a young member for a little while. Originally, Starlight was having to post via the medium of her father's account, but got so involved over the years that she's got round to the point of just starting her own one. She doesn't have to wait on Dad to actually be in and around doing stuff. I mean, she can just jump straight in there and start painting and posting. This case...
I love that the project says, I have Star Wars miniatures. My dad has never done anything with them. I'm painting them.
Correctamundo. This is how it goes. So breaking out Star Wars Legion before the fire sale hits and starting to get some painted, because, you know, it would be nice to have them all done and dusted before the world ends. By the way, don't think I didn't notice the Marauder Giant in the background, because I did. And I want to see that writ large. But yeah, it is exactly what it is. It's Starlight getting paint on miniatures, which is what we want to see.
Paint some Star Wars.
Yep. Yeah. And the nice thing about Star Wars is, lady in question, look at me, I'm painting your stuff, Dad. Now buy more stuff for me to paint. That's what that says. But yeah, get stuck in, get the stuff slapped onto the table with some color, and away you go. It's all good in the hood. And there she is with some Rebel Pathfinders. So yeah, terrific stuff. A great inspiration for younger hobbyists and gamers of somebody who's just getting stuck in. And every time there's a competition and the opportunity, she gets involved.
Yeah.
And I love to see it, because we're getting to see her progress as well, from the initial tentative footsteps into the brave new world that is Tiny Fighting Men Gaming's.
From what's a paint to Dad, give me those models.
You're not doing anything with that box, are you? No,
you're not doing that. Yeah, you haven't touched it in 2 weeks, have you?
It won't be long before there's no ask. It'll just be take it and see how long it takes for Dad to notice that it's missing. So it took them 8 months ago, mate. That's unlucky. Anyway,
I've also got this Whaley Games voucher for doing them, which I'm not splitting with you.
No, you can pay the postage, Dad. Anyway, so £25 off to Starlight. Congrats, you well done on that. And our winner for the category, with the fantastic name of Bus Lover, which just reminds me of some sort of Lloyd adjacent child, decided trains were no good. They only go on tracks. It needs to be more free.
Buses can change directions. Yeah.
They can change. They can go wherever they want, and therefore it's more interesting to be a bus lover than a train lover. And they are actually inspired by seeing Starlight's progress in previous competitions. And this one was a case of taking advantage of the holidays and some Imperial Romans from Warlord Games. And again, just getting involved, splashing some paint on. It's all about muscle memory. The younger you can start them, the better. And there they are, lurking in a shop where they can potentially turn around and go, well, clearly I need more X, Dad. It's just there. Just give me that. That would be great. Thank you. Terrific. Let's move on. And these, they are the standard Roman colors of all Hollywood Romans, i.e. red, but applied as only a child would. They will be robustly painted, shall we say.
Army men style.
Everybody has to learn somewhere. And this is their effort. I love...
Oh, they're learning photography from Jerry.
What they were doing there was showing you that if you need to get the East School of Music, then that's their number.
Yeah.
So that then you can learn to play music. Well, you can fiddle while Rome burns then.
Doxing so many people.
They didn't want it, they wouldn't be printed in the paper. But yeah,
it's true.
It's all good. Encouraging the kids of today to actually get involved with tiny fighting miniatures.
Yes.
Rather than plugging in an Xbox.
It's always getting, like, it always helps with certain skills as well. It's hand-eye coordination. It's socializing. And it's just, as you say, just getting away from a screen and just learning a skill that is going to help.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to gaming.
Yeah. I like the fact that it wasn't all at home either. So some of the stuff we've seen was at their local game store. They also visited Salute, where there was a sort of a paint and take competition as well.
Brilliant.
Which meant that Bus Lover got a chance to wander around Salute and then slap some paint on other miniatures just to tide him over while he was waiting to get home to the Romans, which is key because obviously being dragged to Salute by Dad when all you want to do is paint a Roman sentry, it's got to be very taxing on a child. Do you not know I've got Gaul to conquer, Father? That's how this one goes. So yeah, absolutely love it to bits. And
great
hopefully they'll be inspired to keep at it and keep bringing more for us in the future. And they can do that via the medium of 75 quid's worth of whatever they want. Get some scorpions. I don't mean the stabby, bitey insects. I mean the bolt throwers for your Romans.
Yeah.
No, they do them.
Very true.
Get some of them. Right. We have one final category.
We do. Yes.
Who is it,
So,
Benjamin?
the last of the categories is a breath of fresh air, which has remained stalwartly, regardless of how much Lloyd says, why have we got this in? And he can't complain because he took his slingers.
Took his Balearics. Yep.
So
His slingers.
he did this. So and so this was a category which is all about taking your miniatures out into the wonderful fresh air and getting photos of them in fantastic locations. And we had quite a few entries in this one, and it was just really interesting seeing how we could sort of draw it all together. But these two, the runner-up and the winner, just sort of pipped the others to the post because they had just that little extra spark to them. And the first one of these comes from Liam Mack, 1745. Who has been diving into the world of the Border Reavers and Under a Reaver Moon recently. And you may remember their work from building up the Peel Tower and all sorts of different things for use in their games. Well, Liam went one step further and decided, hey, you know that building that I built for my tabletop games. What about if I take that for a photo shoot at the Castle Semple Lock Tower out in the wilderness so that you can see what everything looks like in the glorious sunshine alongside an accurate representation of the kind of thing I've been trying to build. And so the Border Reavers were out there thanks to the help of their friend Claire, and the wonderful terrain got to sit out in the sunshine alongside some more of the troops in front of a wonderful piece of old architecture, and it was very lovely.
It's great they've got such reference materials right there for the painting.
Exactly.
Well, he entered the terrain building last year with this tower, and I think it was actually that rune that was being reconstructed, but it wasn't finished for the end of the terrain build at the time. Yep. But it wasn't just abandoned completely. Then it was like, we'll finish this off and then we'll go back and to add some other bits and pieces to it. So it's nice seeing the model beside the inspiration, because that's great. But more than that, I'll just take a moment to appreciate the fact that there seems to be sunlight and blue skies in Scotland. I mean,
there's a bit of grey up there in the corner.
It's never far. That's pointing south towards Newcastle, probably. That's where that is. It's like Mordor on the horizon.
But yeah, the element that kind of sort of got this into the runner-up position was, again, that fact that it was the piece of terrain in front of the inspiration out there in the wilderness, and taking a little bit of sun, a little bit of relaxation before going back and painting again all of the Border Reaver stuff, because there's so much in that project. But
it also shows you really in sunlight how close that stonework is to the real one too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. It was amazeballs, as I believe Lloyd would say. So, a worthy runner-up. But my God, what a winner.
£25. Fantastic. Well done, Liam. What could be better than taking a terrain project that you've been inspired by out to the thing that inspired you? Well, how about... Well, that, yeah. But how about taking your Vikings that you've painted up alongside your monks out to Lindisfarne itself to take photos with them on the beach? Because that is exactly what Tiny Headbones did.
That is a level of dedication and commitment that shows he should be committed. Is that how that goes? But yeah, this is, I mean, obviously residents of Lindisfarne, if the monks were still there, they'd be having PTSD, thinking, oh my God, not again. But yeah, just the whole drive up, and there they are for the first time since 790 years. Is that it?
Something like that. 7 something, and then
789. I can never remember what way around it is. The monks are at Lindisfarne once again, and the Vikings have arrived.
Storming up the beaches on the sands.
There they are out doing the work, picking up cow poop. I don't think you have to pick it up, mate. I think you could just leave that where it falls, unless he's collecting it for some reason. I don't know. They're monks. They're always up to something.
Yeah. And then the Vikings storming up the
Vikings on the beach. Look at the speed at which they're moving. Gorgeous.
So good.
Oh no. Nighttime.
You've broke it.
Apparently I have.
But yeah, it's what I thought was quite funny in the thing is that it says further down the post, some walkers were heading towards the castle, passing me by while I was taking the photos, but no one came to ask what I was doing.
I like to think that as I was kneeling on the grass, to get a decent they assumed I was a praying pilgrim.
Yeah.
Oh no, run! You're about
but
to
it's just such a cool idea. Like, if you're there in the location, why not do that? So good.
Oh, yeah. You know, but he wasn't there in the location. I specifically went. He packed a bag.
Yeah.
Went. I'm taking my monks to Lindisfarne, and the Vikings will raid them. And that shows a level of dedication that I don't think anybody except Lloyd would do. Yeah,
exactly.
Lloyd.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like we should actually. It makes me feel like we should actually play our bold action games in Bastogne.
Yep,
Jerry,
that would be cool.
Set a table up in the forest,
in the woods.
If we
there'd
were
be
quick
so
enough,
many
we could have
people
joined
asking.
Warlord. They did it, didn't they?
Dig a
They went to-
foxhole and play it in the
They went to
foxhole. There you go.
Oh, playing a foxhole. At least we wouldn't have to worry about stuff blowing away like that time we
That's
played on the
true.
beach. But yeah,
Yeah.
this is
Amazing
just
stuff.
ridiculously fun, glorious, and a worthy winner for our breath of fresh air.
Fantastic.
£75.
Now,
Yeah.
that is technically all of our categories, but we do have one more
Mhm.
prize, and that was our overall winner, courtesy of the Army Painter, who were getting a War Paints Fanatic Mega Paint Set. And so we just had to go back through and pick any of these at all at random. Gorham, it could have been any of them. We freemen. We had long, in-depth discussion, fecal, and then we decided in the end that the Kings of War Army by Gorham should be the winner for the person I love the most in the whole world. I think. Is that
Well done.
so yes, congratulations. I didn't even touch on half of what's in that project. The links will be below for all of them, and they're all worthy winners and worth checking out. But definitely, thank you for everyone who got involved across the board, because we had a lot of fun going through the project system and checking them all out. Now,
I did.
it's almost time for us to go. So we'll be back in a second with some Kickstarters.
Did you win one of our prizes? Find out on our prize claim center over at OnTableTop.com. Here we list all our previous prizes and those who have won. If you see your username, fill out the form to claim your prize. All prizes must be claimed within 30 days.
All right then. That was a spectacular showing from all involved in the community. Well done, you. And like we said, even if you didn't end up being shown off there, you were all terrific. Some more than others. You were all terrific.
We'll have a link to the Sprinkling Challenge section, and you will see some honourable mentions and stuff in there as well. So make sure to go and check that out.
Right. Time to round out the show. And we have a couple of crowdfunding campaigns, Benjamin. Where are we starting with these?
Every time you call me Benjamin, I think I've done something wrong. Only my mother calls me Benjamin.
Mr. Benjamin Shaw.
Oh, God. I'll bring my homework in, I promise.
My dog in it.
Dog at my Kickstarter.
Oh, dear. As I drift back into those terrible memories, we should move on to Victoriana. So yes, a new role-playing game from the folks at Cubicle 7 is up on Kickstarter right now. If anyone's enjoyed the work from Cubicle 7 in the past, this is them back with another fantastic option for you to bolt on to your 5th edition rules that you'll be familiar with in the likes of D&D and such. Victoriana, though, is, as I say, a 5th edition game, but it's set in their rich and fantastical world that is alongside our own, but things are a little bit different. So it's kind of set in that kind of late 1800s period, that sort of Victorian style to everything. And you will be taking on the role of irregulars who pound the cobbled streets of London and beyond, looking to deal with supernatural horrors, secret societies, and everything else in between. If you've looked at the likes of Carnival Row and stuff on Amazon Prime, this is that's a very good primer for the kind of world that they have built here with Victoriana, because everything has sort of changed and melded, and everything that you know from the realms of fantasy has kind of bled into that Victorian steampunk world. And that means that obviously you've got different lineages from sort of dwarves and ogres and elves and goblins and everything else, alongside, of course, your humans. But then that means that there's also a blending of both magic and science, which means that everything has taken another step forward when it comes to the development.
You get
of the
electrocuted and then it blows up.
Exactly, yes.
That's how science and magic work together.
And he's sucked into a void. So yes, the Kickstarter is going to come with a couple of different options for you to dive into and pick up. It starts with the core book, which you'll see in some of the pledge options here, which will contain everything you need for getting started in the game. Think of it as your sort of player's handbook / DM's guide almost for diving into Victoriana. Comes with all of the additional classes and lineages and backstory and magical items and weapons and all that kind of good stuff that you'll need for diving into creating characters within the world of Victoriana. And you could stop there if you wanted to. But if you wanted to go a little bit deeper, there is also the Menagerie, which acts a little bit like the Monster Manual for use in Victoriana. And it comes with not only deadly creatures for you to come up against, including a big old beast that lives in the Thames, apparently.
Ooh.
I know who put that there.
There's always
Boris.
God damn it, Boris.
But you'll also find in there dramatis personae for you to come up against when you're exploring the streets and talking to individuals as well. So it's not just monsters. There's also lots of NPCs for you to interact with in there at the same time too. The last of the books that they're working on is called Dreadful Inquiries, and that is an adventure book. So it carries you through from level 1 all the way through to level 5 across a series of adventures that will have you solving murder mysteries, battling against terrible creatures, and everything else in between. And it's just a great option for you to dive in and sort of maybe introduce your group to the world of Victoriana without having to do too much planning, because GMs have to do too much work as it is. Take it as someone who's been running a D&D campaign for the last 3 months. Oh my God. The amount of choices they make that I'm like, what the hell, man? But anyway.
You find yourself in an empty field away from the main story, turn around.
Yeah. Go south. Last but not least, they also have a collector's edition version of the core book too. So if you are someone who wants to really splash out and you love what they've been doing and you like Cubicle 7's work in the past, then maybe you want to go and pick that up for yourself as well, which is very, very nice. Their collector's editions are always stunning. I've got a few of the ones they've done for Warhammer Fantasy and things like that, and they are very, very lovely production quality items. Fantastic stuff.
I love how it's described. Designs feature aspects of the proletariat, the bourgeoisie, and nobles. We cater to all here. Although,
We do,
if you're buying the collector's edition, we know which one of those 3 you are.
Yes, very true. It's how they weed you out.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mentioned earlier as well that this is like a 5th edition rule set that's driving this one, so it'll be familiar, sort of D20 system that you'll have seen before. You can obviously go and download all of the sort of basic rules for 5th edition online. Easy enough for you to get your hands on. You just need this book and away you go, the core one. But Cubicle 7 never do just like copy and paste over the top of it. It's basically just you playing D&D, but it's steampunk kind of thing. They added loads of additional mechanics to try and really bring that world to life. And so what they've done is they've added in, as you can see there, enhanced rules for social interactions and investigation. So they've really gone into that element of things. They've also put in different ways for you to solve conflicts. So you don't just have to end up fighting everything to get experience and all that kind of good stuff. So you can sort of solve things with wordplay. It's something that they did in the Doctor Who role-playing game, which worked exceptionally well. Jerry offered a lot of jelly babies to people. And it worked really nicely.
I really want to see an etiquette check in Victoriana.
Yes. You've got to
make sure,
checks,
you're sitting down to dinner with someone who you think might be the person you're after, and you're waiting to see if they start from the outside and work their way in.
Yeah, exactly.
Or do they pour the wrong knife?
Yeah.
Do they pour their tea into the saucer like you're supposed to first?
Yeah.
Well, anybody who's watched A Game of Shadows, second Sherlock Holmes movie, which technically ends with a fight, but really ends with Watson and the gypsy girl trying to work out which one is her disguised brother. And you've got that whole interplay at the big fancy
I love that
ambassadors meeting, and trying to work out what it's going to be, and things like that. You don't, not everything has to end with a massive sword fight / battle, and something like this. Something like this is, I mean, obviously you can on occasion have your big, massive daring do battles, but yeah, having your etiquette sort of checks. You've been invited / snuck into a party you shouldn't be in. Will you be found out before you make contact with the person, or will you be asked to leave the premises by a butler battling away? Some footman come and escort you.
It's what I loved about the Robert Downey Sherlock Holmes. There was so much introspective and picking up on details and explaining why those details mattered. How are you into horticulture when your window box plants are clearly dead?
Yeah.
Which I think is
very cool.
A terrific way of running some of these games, especially for the investigative side. So it doesn't just boil down to a dungeon crawl hack and slash, but in a fantasy steampunk London, you've got a different feel to it.
Don't mind me. I'm just
one of
going
the things.
to.
If you're interested in all the kind of things that we've just talked about, and you're like, oh, I hope that Victoriana actually carries that through. Cubicle 7 are the guys that have done all of their amazing kind of extracurricular activity books for D&D. So meeting people and having audiences, travel, and what happens in the journey, and what you do when you finish being an investigator, all this kind of thing. So they are
family and friends and retiring.
So they love that kind of storytelling aspect of things. And so if that's the kind of stuff that they want to work into Victoriana, I think it's all going to be there in the pages for you to explore and have some fun with. So you can go all full on. I'm Sherlock Holmes, but I'm actually an ogre. Rah. Kind of thing. Which would be cool.
Well, there you go then.
Barbarian Watson.
Barbarian Watson, yeah.
Already funded. And there are 18 days left if you fancy getting into some Victorian fantasy for 5e. Right, we have a final crowdfunder. This comes courtesy of Mantic and Jim Henson. So, for fans of the wonderful world of Labyrinth, its 40th anniversary is fast approaching. And with that in mind, Mantic, via Riverhorse and Alessio Cavatore's work, have put together a anniversary collection of all of the labyrinthian number of games that they have produced. This will let you pick up a big bonus collector's box of all of the stuff from Riverhorse/Mantic these days. And it will be with you next Christmas, I believe, is the plan. So sort of December 2025, which means when the anniversary rolls around in 2026, you've got your 40 years of goodness with you. I'll see what they've done there. They've rather than wait for the anniversary, they've preempted it. So the collection itself is 3, technically, maybe 4 games, depending on how you choose to view things. The main game is the Labyrinth board game, where you are attempting to navigate your way through said labyrinth to rescue the babe, Toby, back from Jarlath the Goblin King, played by the magnificent crotch of David Bowie. I mean, he was attached to the rest of it, but anybody who's seen Labyrinth will know it's mostly the crotch.
That's the focal point. Yeah.
That really is the focal point. Anyway, you have to navigate your way through the labyrinth, solving puzzles and riddles and fights as you go, to get your kid back before mum and dad come home from the movies, to discover that you managed to get him kidnapped by goblins. You are the worst babysitter ever. Just saying. So the main game, which has been going for 10 years now, it'll be the 10th anniversary as well of the game, has had a few tweaks. There'll be a new rulebook accompanying it. The big red rulebook contains all the rules for all the games, I believe, plus the adaptations and changes that they've included. So the Labyrinth itself, very random, lots of dice rolling and card drawing and weirdness, which means when you play it, it can be all over the place, which is great for fans of the film and, kids. Hardcore board game people who wanted to min-max and meta their way through things went, this is too random. So there are adapted rules in the new book that allow you to take some of the randomness out and make it a bit more strategic and less sort of fun, because board gamers are like that. Why do you not like fun, board gamers? What's wrong with fun? Roll the dice.
Hey, I'm a board gamer. I like fun.
Oh, well, that's good. You're the exception that proves the rule, Benjamin.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the main rules are in there. The core game's in there. Goblins and fairies are both in there as well, along with the new expansion. This will be exclusive to this. Don't believe it will ever be coming out separately. Humongous, the massive mechanical goblin-driven golem, I suppose, for want of a better word, is going to be part of this collection. So if you want him, and he's a beast, then this is the only way to get him, with optional armored head on, by the way, so you can take it off. And that is an interesting little mini game. I talked to Alessio a week ago, and he goes into the sort of the mechanics around how this fight works. Essentially, it's like some sort of Dark Souls style boss fight where you need to work your team in specific positions and directions to get him to move, because he's driven by like a mechanical AI. So if multiple people are clustered together, he'll just come over and slap them all with his axe in one massive stomp. Right. So, spreading out, positioning him, moving him around, and then getting faster characters to come in to deactivate him, essentially, is key. So there's a little, I think it's like a 5x5 grid. So it can be played as like a little mini game of its own, where you're attempting to take him down, or it can be inserted into the Labyrinth board game as an encounter as you're attempting to make your way through to get to the palace itself, which is fancy. Another thing they're looking at is, for this collector's edition, new fancy bits, what the kids call it, a glow up. Is that? Which makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Well, sure. So replacing some of the periphery tokens and bits and pieces with little changed pieces. So instead of some action counters or whatever, tiny little glass beads like the balls that maneuvers in his hand, things like that. So just sort of quality of life component upgrades, not necessary for gameplay, but look fancy.
But lovely
alongside that, also some nice new miniatures, including the ballroom scene, as we see there. And, you can play your way through the Labyrinth encounters. That's the main big chunky game in the box. Alongside that, there's also things like Ready Steady Worm, which is a fun race game with rotating walls and track. So while you may be in the lead at the moment, it may catch up on you and you'll find yourself right at the back. And the Labyrinth RPG is in there as well, which is a beautifully put together book. Obviously, Labyrinth and Dark Crystal RPGs that Riverhorse did were spanking gorgeous.
Yeah.
Jack and Chris did some magnificent work on those. So if you're interested in Labyrinth, definitely worth checking this one out before it goes away. And it will be going away in 16 days, although it's already funded. So if you're a fan of Labyrinth, get in there immediately, if not faster. Like Rash on a kidnapped baby's backside. You need to be on this one, all over it. And if you've not seen Labyrinth, then you've got 14 days to find it, watch it, fall in love with it, and then back it. These are the rules. I don't make them. I just ruthlessly enforce them. You can see there's even things like the chess set available as well, but the big box, the big Galvy bucket. I mean, we're all here for the core set. That's what you're after. That's what you want. It contains all of the fun. And then that way you don't have to worry about whether or not some of those books are included. But if you want to pick up a Goblin King chess set separately, yeah, sure. Go, knock yourselves out.
Away you go.
It's got David Bowie in it. David Bowie, he talks in the most pretentious of ways. And on that note, we'll be back on Sunday over on tabletop.com for our XLBS. And this week we're being joined by a guest. Marco Percotto is joining us to talk about what he's been working on game-wise and some design concepts and theories he has. Should be a lot of fun, assuming we can get an edge anywhere near him to steer him. Otherwise, he'll just steamroller right through like he always does. He's a happy man. Very happy. Anyway, if you can't join us on Sunday, we'll be back next Friday for more of the same. Until then, have a great week of gaming. Bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.